Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today on this fascinating journey into the world of rare coins where history, mistakes, and unexpected details can turn an ordinary object into a multi-million-dollar treasure. And in this episode we are diving deep into the story of the 1989 1-cent coin that has been rumored, reported, and valued by collectors at up to $8 million because of its extraordinary errors and mistakes, and while at first glance it may look like just another Lincoln cent that you could easily find in your pocket change, the truth is that certain error varieties and minting mishaps on the 1989 penny have captured the imagination of the numismatic world, transforming what was designed to be a common coin struck by the millions into a legendary rarity that continues to make headlines and attract collectors from all over the globe. So let's explore why this coin has reached such heights, what types of errors make it so valuable, and how these mistakes could have happened during its creation at the United States Mint, because when you hear that a coin with a face value of 1 cent could be worth $8 million, the first question that comes to mind is how could such an astronomical jump in value be possible, and the answer lies in the intricate world of minting where human oversight, machine malfunctions, and simple chance can result in a coin that defies expectation. Starting with double dies, which are among the most famous types of errors seen on Lincoln cents, where during the die-making process if the hub imprints twice at a slightly different angle, the design can show a doubling effect, and in the 1989 1-cent coin certain varieties reportedly show dramatic doubling on the date, the word liberty, or even on the motto "In God We Trust," and collectors go wild for these because the doubling is clear to the naked eye and makes the coin unique. And then there are off-center strikes where the coin blank, also called a planchette, is not properly seated in the press, and as a result the design is struck partially off the surface leaving blank metal exposed on one side, and some 1989 pennies have been found with extreme off-center strikes that still show the date, which is a key requirement for collectors, because without the date the error loses much of its value, and when the off-center strike shows both the date and part of the design, values skyrocket. Now another fascinating type of error on the 1989 penny is the broad strike, where the retaining collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking malfunctions, allowing the metal to spread outward, resulting in a coin that is wider and thinner than normal, and when combined with other features like misaligned dies or partial collar strikes, it can produce highly unusual looking cents that fetch thousands of dollars at auction. And when you consider that the 1989 series had a huge mintage of over 7 billion coins between Philadelphia and Denver mints, the fact that certain rare and extreme errors slipped through undetected adds to their allure, because it's like finding a diamond in a mountain of ordinary rocks. Now perhaps the most celebrated error associated with the 1989 penny is related to transitional compositions and experimental planches, because in the late 1980s the United States Mint was constantly testing new metal mixtures as copper prices fluctuated, and though the official composition of the 1989 penny was copper-plated zinc with a core of 97.5% zinc and a thin layer of copper, there are reports and rumors of a handful being struck on leftover copper planches from pre-year 1982 production or even on foreign coin blanks, and these off-metal errors are some of the rarest of all, since their creation required an unusual slip in the minting process where the wrong planchette was fed into the presses. And when authenticated, these kinds of coins can reach astronomical values, which helps explain why one could fetch millions, because collectors place immense value on rarity, uniqueness, and the story behind the piece. But errors don't stop there, because in some examples misaligned dies produced coins where the obverse and reverse don't line up properly, resulting in a rotated die error where you flip the coin over and instead of being upright the reverse is rotated sometimes 90 or even 180 degrees. And these oddities are prized by error collectors for their clear deviation from normal minting standards. And then there are die cracks, cuds, and clashes, all of which are more minor errors, but when dramatic enough they make coins stand out. For example, a die crack that runs across Lincoln's face, or a cud where a piece of the die has broken away leaving a raised blob of metal on the coin, or a die clash where the obverse and reverse dies hit each other without a planchette in between, leaving ghost-like images of one design impressed on the other side. All of these create personality and uniqueness to individual coins, and in some cases can elevate their value enormously when combined with the 1989 date. But why is 1989 so special compared to other years? Part of the answer is timing, because the late 1980s was a transitional period in coinage, with shifts in technology, changes in quality control, and the lingering issues of using softer zinc cores, which often caused plating blisters or bubbles under the thin copper layer, creating coins with unusual surface textures that can look like raised bumps or pits, and while many of these are considered minor minting defects, certain dramatic examples are highly collectible, especially if the blisters form on Lincoln's face or on key details, because they make each coin one of a kind, and when such unique features are paired with rarity and historical significance, the result is a coin that can achieve legendary status. Now when word spreads that a certain era coin sold for hundreds of thousands or even millions at auction, it triggers a rush of interest from collectors and the general public alike, causing people to check their change jars and old penny rolls for hidden treasures, and the 1989 penny has fueled exactly that kind of treasure hunt, with reports of extraordinary sales and values reaching up to $8 million for the most spectacular and authenticated examples. And part of that value also comes from the competition among elite collectors who are willing to pay any price to own a one-of-a-kind piece, turning the coin market into a high-stakes arena where history, rarity, and desire converge, and beyond the specific eras we've mentioned, there are countless other possibilities that could contribute to the 1989 penny's mystique, such as double denominations where a cent is accidentally struck over another coin like a dime, wrong planchet strikes where the design of the penny appears on a smaller or larger blank, and even off-metal strikes where unusual alloys were used accidentally. All of these represent minting accidents that are so rare they sometimes exist only in one or two known examples, and when these get discovered, the numismatic world goes into frenzy because collectors realize they are holding a piece of history that might never appear again. And the fascinating thing about the 1989 1-cent coin is that despite being produced in the billions, only a tiny handful of error examples exist in pristine condition, and those are the ones that attract the massive values. So, when we say that the 1989 penny is worth $8 million, we are not talking about every penny minted in that year but about a specific coin or coins that exhibit extraordinary mistakes, and what makes this story even more captivating is the human element, because behind every minting error there is a story of oversight, a lapse in quality control, or a mechanical glitch that nobody anticipated. And it reminds us that even in an industrialized process designed for perfection, imperfections can slip through, and those imperfections become treasures. So the 1989 penny valued at $8 million is a symbol not just of numismatic rarity but of the way history, chance, and human error combine to create value where none was expected, and it sparks the imagination of everyone who hears about it, making people wonder if the next coin they pull from their pocket could be their ticket to a fortune. And as we continue exploring this remarkable coin, it's important to remember that the marketplace for rare coins thrives on passion, competition, and storytelling, and the story of the 1989 penny has all the elements that collectors dream about, with dramatic errors, mysterious origins, and record-shattering values, and that's why it has become legendary. So whether you are a seasoned collector or just someone curious about the hidden value of everyday objects, the 1989 1-cent coin teaches us that small details can make a massive difference, and it invites us to look more closely at the things we often overlook, because sometimes what appears to be an ordinary penny might just be a multi-million-dollar rarity waiting to be discovered, and that is the magic of coin collecting, the thrill of the hunt, and the wonder of knowing that history can still surprise us in the most unexpected ways. So keep your eyes open, check your change, and who knows, maybe you too could stumble upon a 1989 penny with the kinds of mistakes and errors that have made it worth as much as $8 million. And before we wrap up today's deep dive into this incredible story, remember that the fascination with rare coins is not just about money but about history, craftsmanship, and the stories locked into every piece of metal. And if you enjoyed this journey and want to keep discovering the hidden treasures of numismatics, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another chance to uncover the next big coin mystery. Next, we dive deep into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of modern coin collecting, a story that revolves around a simple coin you may have seen countless times in your pocket change, but that in one extraordinary version has been valued at over $2 million. Yes, we are talking about the 2005 1-cent coin, a humble Lincoln cent that for most people is worth just a penny. Yet due to a series of extraordinary mistakes, minting errors, and rare anomalies, it has become a legendary treasure that has captured the imagination of collectors, historians, and everyday people who suddenly wonder if they too might hold a fortune hiding in plain sight. And as we take you on this journey, we will explain exactly why certain 2005 pennies are so valuable, what kind of errors they exhibit, how these errors happen, what possibilities exist that make this coin such an incredible collector's item, and how a tiny sliver of metal struck with imperfection could climb to an unimaginable $2 $1 million price tag, so settle in as we explore every detail because this story is one of rarity, history, human error, and the thrill of discovery that keeps the coin collecting world alive and full of surprises. The year 2005 was an interesting one in the timeline of the Lincoln cent. The design featuring the profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, first introduced in 1909, had already been in circulation for nearly a century, and although millions upon millions of these coins were minted at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, a small fraction contained flaws that transformed them from everyday currency into high-value collectibles. These mistakes range from double dies to off-center strikes, to misaligned dies, to improper planchets, to missing elements in the design, to copper transition anomalies, and each one of these errors tells a unique story about what went wrong at the United States Mint that year, a place known for precision but not immune to rare slip-ups that fuel the dreams of treasure hunters around the world. Imagine, for example, a 2005 1-cent coin that appears to have Lincoln's face doubled, where his eye or mouth looks blurred or shadowed due to a doubling of the die during striking. This type of double die error is one of the most famous in the hobby because it creates a clear visual anomaly that anyone can see without magnification. And when authenticated by grading companies, these coins can fetch astonishing amounts because the doubling is not a small scratch or damage done after minting. It is a genuine production error that makes the coin unique, scarce, and extremely desirable, and when you consider that collectors are willing to pay millions for uniqueness, it begins to make sense how one single 2005 penny could climb in value to an astronomical $2 million if it combined rarity, condition, and striking anomalies all in one. Another error that makes the 2005 1-cent so intriguing is the off-center strike, where the coin was not properly seated in the press during minting, leading to a design that is visibly shifted to one side, sometimes cutting Lincoln's face or leaving blank space on the surface of the coin. These off-center strikes vary in degree, and the more dramatic the shift, the rarer and more valuable the coin, especially when both the date and mint mark remain visible, because collectors prize the combination of misalignment and identifiable date as proof of authenticity, and in some cases such a coin in pristine condition can soar in value beyond imagination. We also cannot overlook the broad strike and misaligned die errors, where the coin is struck outside the retaining collar causing it to expand, or where one die is slightly rotated creating a distorted image. Both of these are mint-made mistakes that make each coin one of a kind, and in the world of numismatics, one of a kind means big money. Then there are the planchette errors, the foundation of the coin itself, where sometimes the metal blank is flawed, cracked, clipped, or even struck on the wrong type of planchette. For example, imagine a 2005 Lincoln cent struck not on the usual copper-plated zinc planchette but mistakenly on a dime planchette or even on a leftover copper planchette from decades past. These types of wrong planchette errors are so rare and so dramatic that they instantly elevate the coin to legendary status. Collectors will battle fiercely in auctions for such a piece because it demonstrates the unpredictable chaos that can occur in mass production, and owning such a coin is like owning a piece of minting history, something no other person in the world possesses. One of the fascinating possibilities that make the 2005 penny so valuable is the transition metal composition, because ever since 1982 the US Mint had switched from solid copper cents to copper-plated zinc cents, but occasionally wrong planchets or experimental strikes slip through. And if a 2005 penny was accidentally struck on a copper planchette rather than zinc, its weight would differ, its sound would differ, and its scarcity would skyrocket, making it one of the rarest modern errors ever discovered, and when authenticated such a piece could command millions. Another key factor is condition, because the coin collecting world revolves not just around rarity but also around preservation. A coin graded mint state 67 or higher is nearly flawless, with original luster and sharp strikes, and if you combine a rare error with top condition you get the perfect storm of collectability. So a 2005 penny with a double die or copper planchette error in high grade could easily cross into multi-million-dollar territory, especially in high-profile auctions where wealthy collectors are willing to pay whatever it takes to own something unique and historic. The mystery and allure around these coins is also fueled by the fact that not many have been found. Scarcity is everything in numismatics, and the fewer examples available, the more intense the demand, and so stories circulate in the coin collecting community of a 2005 penny with multiple errors, such as an off-center strike on a wrong planchette with doubling on the lettering. A once-in-a-lifetime anomaly that pushes values beyond normal expectations and becomes the stuff of legend, and it is. These stories that draw in new collectors, fueling the dream that perhaps in their change jar or old drawer lies a coin worth $2 million. It is also important to understand that errors can sometimes be subtle and require expert authentication, for instance die cracks that appear as raised lines across the surface, cuts that show as missing chunks of design caused by die breaks, or repunched mint marks where the letter D for Denver or P for Philadelphia is stamped more than once, slightly overlapping. These may not be immediately obvious to the casual observer, but once verified by grading services like PCGS or NGC they gain legitimacy and significant value, and in rare cases where the errors are large and dramatic they can transform the coin's worth exponentially. The appeal of such coins goes beyond money. It touches on the human element of error, because every mint mistake tells a story of imperfection in a system designed for perfection, a reminder that even the most controlled processes can produce surprises, and in that surprise lies the spark of excitement that makes collectors' hearts race. And it is this very thrill that has allowed the 2005 penny to become symbolic of the possibility that hidden treasures exist all around us, waiting to be discovered. Collectors and treasure hunters often compare these modern errors to famous historical coins, like the 1955 double-die penny or the 1943 copper cent, coins that were once overlooked but are now iconic and worth fortunes, and they speculate that the 2005 cent may well join their ranks as one of the most sought-after anomalies of the modern minting era, cementing its place in the history of American coinage. The $2 million valuation might sound outrageous at first, but when you consider the forces at play, extreme rarity, dramatic error, pristine condition, and fierce competition among collectors, it suddenly becomes plausible, because auctions have shown time and again that when something unique comes to market, the price is driven not by face value but by desire, history, and the deep pockets of determined bidders who see the coin not as a penny but as an irreplaceable artifact. Think too of the possibilities still undiscovered, because coins circulate for decades before being noticed, and right now somewhere in circulation or in a forgotten jar there may exist another 2005 penny with a dramatic error waiting to be found, and the thought that an everyday person could stumble upon a multi-million-dollar treasure adds to the magic of the story, fueling curiosity and encouraging people to look closer at their change, to study the small details, to weigh their pennies, and to dream that they might hold history in their hands. That is why this story resonates so deeply, because it combines history, error, rarity, money, and hope, and it invites everyone to take part in the adventure. And so as we close this exploration of the 2005 1 cent valued at $2 million, we remind you that the world of coin collecting is full of surprises, where the smallest details can mean the biggest fortunes, where imperfections are celebrated, and where treasures hide in plain sight. So always keep your eyes open, always stay curious, and always remember that even a penny can be worth millions. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins, make sure to join us again for more incredible stories about hidden treasures and the amazing history behind everyday objects. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another exciting discovery. Last, we dive into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of modern coin collecting, a story that revolves around a coin most people would consider to be ordinary, a coin that millions of Americans have handled in their change without giving it a second thought, the 2018 A.D. Lincoln 1 cent coin, struck at the Denver Mint, a coin with a face value of only 1 cent, yet because of the errors and mistakes tied to some rare examples, this small piece of copper-plated zinc has been linked with staggering values reaching into the millions, with collectors and enthusiasts suggesting that certain error examples of the 2018 D penny have been appraised or even rumored to be worth up to $6 million, and the fascination with this coin begins with the contrast between its humble face value and the astronomical prices that error varieties can fetch. For when we explore why this coin is so valuable, we need to consider the different kinds of mistakes that can occur during the minting process, the unique qualities of the 2018 D pennies, the conditions under which errors are discovered, and the psychology of collectors who are always seeking the rarest and most unusual examples to add to their collections. So let us begin by recalling that the Lincoln cent has been a staple of American coinage since 1909, when it was first introduced to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and over the decades, millions upon millions have been struck at the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, with Denver being especially known for its high-volume production, and in 2018, as part of the continuing shield reverse design introduced in 2010, the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of pennies. Yet among these countless coins, some stand apart due to minting errors, and it is here that value skyrockets, for collectors know that errors are by their very nature unique or extremely rare, and rarity is what drives the market into extraordinary territory. So what kinds of errors and mistakes have been found on 2018 AD pennies, and how could they possibly push the value up to $6 million? Let us break it down in detail, because only by understanding the categories of mint errors and the circumstances of their creation can we appreciate how such an unassuming coin can be transformed into a treasure. One of the most common error types associated with modern pennies is the double die, which occurs when the hubbing process that creates the coins design impressions causes a doubling in certain areas. On some 2018 AD pennies, collectors have observed signs of doubling on the date, the motto "In God We Trust," or the word liberty, and such double dies, especially if they are dramatic and visible without magnification, can become very desirable. Another error possibility is the off-center strike, where the blank planchette is not perfectly aligned when struck by the dies, resulting in a coin with part of the design missing, sometimes with large blank crescent-shaped areas, and dramatic off-center pennies from 2018 AD, especially those with the date fully visible, can command huge premiums because they not only showcase the error but also confirm the mint and year. Then there are broad strike errors where the retaining collar fails and the coin is struck without its proper rim, giving it an expanded, misshapen appearance. These too are eye-catching and sought after. Another fascinating category involves clipped planchets, where a portion of the blank is accidentally cut off before striking, creating a curved or straight indentation on the edge of the coin, and if these clips occur in a way that leaves the design partially intact, they can be highly collectible. There are also wrong planchette errors, which can be spectacular, for if a penny design is struck on a blank meant for a dime, nickel, or even a foreign coin, the resulting piece is extraordinary, and there are reports and rumors that a few 2018 AD pennies were struck on dime planchets, giving them a smaller size and lighter weight, instantly transforming them into rare and valuable coins. Another major area is die breaks and die chips, where the dies used to strike coins develop cracks or breaks from the pressure of mass production, resulting in raised metal blobs on the coin. Some 2018 AD pennies show large die chips on Lincoln's eye or forehead, sometimes nicknamed cuds when they are large enough, and these unique patterns can attract collectors who love error coins with personality. Also notable are strike-through errors, which occur when foreign material such as grease, cloth, or even small pieces of metal fall between the die and planchette during striking, leaving impressions or missing details. 2018 AD pennies with dramatic strike-throughs, like missing letters or distorted parts of Lincoln's portrait, have been documented, adding another layer of intrigue. And when you combine the possibility of double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchette errors, die breaks, strike-throughs, broad strikes, and clipped planchets, you begin to see why error coins from this year have attracted so much attention. And now let us address the claim of value, for while not every 2018 AD penny is worth millions, certain unique or dramatic error specimens can in theory reach incredible auction prices if two or more wealthy collectors compete for ownership. And that is exactly why stories circulate about examples valued at $6 million. Because in the world of numismatics, competition and rarity create moments where coins transcend their intrinsic worth, and there are precedents for this, such as the famous 1943 copper penny or the 1913 Liberty nickel, which have sold for millions, proving that rare errors or anomalies in small denomination coins can indeed achieve prices that defy imagination. Another factor adding to the allure of the 2018 AD penny is that modern error coins are sometimes overlooked, with many people assuming only older coins hold big value, yet sharp-eyed collectors know that even coins struck in the 21st century can harbor incredible mistakes, so they search rolls from banks, pocket change, and bulk bags from the mint in hopes of finding that once-in-a-lifetime piece, and this fuels a culture of treasure hunting around the 2018 AD penny, with entire communities sharing photos of their finds, comparing varieties, and speculating on values. Furthermore, the condition of the coin plays a huge role in determining worth, as coins in mint state condition, especially those graded by top services like PCGS or NGC, can fetch exponentially higher prices. So when a dramatic error is combined with pristine condition, the sky is truly the limit for what a collector might pay. And it is worth noting that the Denver Mint in 2018 produced billions of cents, which makes the emergence of even a handful of spectacular errors all the more surprising, because it highlights how quality control sometimes fails despite modern technology, and when it does, the resulting mistakes slip into circulation, turning ordinary change into rare collectibles. Consider also the psychological element, for collectors are drawn not just to the physical coin but to the story behind it, and the story of a 2018 AD penny that escaped the mint with a glaring error, that circulated unnoticed before being spotted by a keen eye. And that went on to fetch millions at auction, is the kind of tale that fuels the entire hobby, and it inspires others to keep looking at their change with fresh attention, hoping lightning might strike again. In fact, many numismatic experts point out that the thrill of discovery is as valuable as the coins themselves, because it creates a direct connection between the collector and history in the making. So when we say a 2018 D penny is worth $6 million, we are not just talking about metal and mint marks, we are talking about a convergence of rarity, era type, collector demand, condition, and narrative, all of which combine to create extraordinary value. Now let us imagine some scenarios that could justify such a price. Suppose a 2018 D penny exists that was struck on the wrong planchet, perhaps on a gold or silver blank due to a freak accident at the mint. Such a coin would be virtually unique, and if authenticated it could easily command millions. Or imagine an off-center strike so dramatic that only half of Lincoln's face is visible yet the date and mint mark remain. A coin like that would become an icon among collectors. Or consider a double die so bold that it rivals the famous 1955 double die cent. If such an example from 2018 D exists in perfect condition, it could rewrite the record books, and in these hypothetical but plausible scenarios, values in the millions make sense. Especially when we recall how wealthy collectors sometimes treat rare coins as investments, willing to spend fortunes for the chance to own a piece of minting history. And so the story of the 2018 D penny worth $6 million is really a story about possibilities, about the endless surprises hidden in everyday pocket change, about the idea that a coin most people dismiss as worthless could in fact hold the key to a life-changing discovery. And that is why we encourage every viewer to take a closer look at the coins in their possession. Because you never know when a simple penny might turn out to be the rarest and most valuable piece in your collection. So as we conclude this exploration of the incredible 2018 D Lincoln cent, let us remember that its appeal lies not only in the errors and mistakes that make it valuable but also in the excitement, curiosity, and imagination it sparks, and that is what keeps the hobby of coin collecting alive and thriving.